what if it's true? I mean, what if? And so I started investigating it, and then it was, like basically no brainer.
And you're convinced the Earth is flat?
Oh, 100%.
Really?
100%. No doubt whatsoever.
All right. So
yeah, 100%.
Where do we start with this?
Welcome, everyone. Thank you to Slim Cyborg for showing this, well, part of it anyway, on his stream a few weeks ago. We had fun going over it when we on the panel didn't derail the conversation as we always seem to do, that is. Anywho, I thought I would tackle this video from the YouTube channel Soft White Underbelly. As Mark Leta states on his About page, Soft White Underbelly interviews and portraits of the human condition by photographer Mark Leta. He also has a subscription website, softwhiteunderbelly.com, where you can see ad-free, uncensored videos from his YouTube channel, Soft White Underbelly, as well as some other exclusive content. Oh, before we get started, it is necessary to give some background on the name Apollos and where it comes from. Apollos was mentioned in Acts chapter 18 in the Bible. From International Standard Bible Encyclopedia Online. Apollos. Apollos, the short form of Apollonius. Apollos was a Jew of Alexandrian race who reached Ephesus in the summer of 54 AD, while he was on his third missionary journey, and there he spake and taught accurately the things concerning Jesus. That he was eminently fitted for the task as indicated by the fact that he is being a learned man, mighty in the Scriptures, fervent in spirit, instructed in the way of the Lord. His teaching was, however, incomplete in that he knew only the baptism of John, and this has given rise to some controversy. According to Bloss, his information was derived from a written gospel which reached Alexandria, but it was probably the fruits of what Apollos had heard, either directly or from others, of the preaching of John the Baptist at Bethany beyond Jordan. Upon receiving further instructions from Priscilla and Aquila, Apollos extended his mission to Achaia, being encouraged thereto by the brethren of Ephesus. One more very important thing before we start. You will need plenty of face palm protection because if you think CC from Westchester County, New York is quick with his random thoughts of absurdity, Apollos has him beat mouths down. Okay, here we go.
All right, so
yeah, 100%.
Where do we start with this? I mean, planets are round. You look at all the planets, the other planets.
Well, planet, the term planet actually means moving star. That's where we came up with the term planet. So we are, and I definitely don't think we are a planet. We are a plane of existence. So when you say planet, like in the old times, or hundreds of years ago and thousands of years ago, they've always said planets were those stars that move. So there's 7, 8, 9. I think there are 9 now, but anyway, Jupiter, Saturn, all that. But to our eyes, they look just like all the other stars. They just happen to be the ones that move. So that's where we came up with that term planet.
But Saturn, Mars, Pluto, they're all the enormous mass and the gravity that's involved.
That's what our science tells us.
Has made them round.
Right. Our science says that they're round. Okay, so let me say it like this. Conceptually, they're a ball, but to our eyes, they're just a circle. It's just like the sun and the moon. I believe they're all the same. And I definitely don't think that those planets, those moving stars that we're talking about, Jupiter, Mars, Saturn, etc., they all have their own lights. They all have their own energy. They're not reflecting the sun's light. Just like I don't believe the moon's light is not the sun's light. A lot of people think that, but just because science taught you that. But
so the light of the moon comes from
its own light. Yeah, it's its own light.
It's internal.
It's whatever. We don't know where it. I don't know. That's what I would like to investigate. Those are the types of questions I'd really like to look into.
But there are times of the night where half the moon is dark, for example.
Exactly. Well, there's
a LED program that makes it turn on the certain parts of the moon.
Exactly. I'd like to. Yeah. Let's start with the moon then. Right there. It's This is some of the things about the moon that are really fascinating. And to show you that they're not reflecting the sun's light is for about 3 weeks every month. So 75% of the time you can look up in the sky during the day and see the moon up there with the sun at the same time. It's never full when it's up in the sky when we see it during the day. Never. The only time it's full is when the sun is set, and then the moon, when it's on the other side of the planet, is the only time you ever see the moon full, ever. Okay? So in other words, you never see the moon full at the same, reflecting the sun's light ever at the same time. But you see the moon waxing and waning in whatever period, either it's waxing or waning all the time. And during that day, like say it's a quarter moon, and it's in the sky with the sun. The sun's moving, the moon's moving a little bit, everything's moving, and it never changes its perigee. If it's quarter moon, it stays a quarter moon. In other words, that's one little hint to show you that the sun is not that's not reflecting the sun. The moon's not reflecting the sun. Okay, that's one little hint. Just the simple fact that we get to see it in the sun, see it in the sky with the sun, and the sun's not affecting it through that entire day. Even if it just happens every once in a while, but it happens every freaking day that it's up there, that we see them together. That's the way it is. It never changes.
He is just getting started, folks.
So if whatever the moon is, that's what it stays through that whole day and into the night. And then you can also, at nighttime, when the moon is full, you can pull out a thermometer and put it out in the light of the moon, right? And let's say as an example, the thermometer reads 70 degrees in the full moonlight. If I put it in the shade of the moonlight, it actually gets warmer. And I pull it out, it gets colder again. So the moon's light is cold. It's not hot, so it's not reflecting the sun. It has nothing to do with the sun. That's what I mean by it's its own light. And that's a simple scientific experiment. Anybody can do it. Thermometer. I don't know if you've ever done it, but I've lived in the northern climates before, and a lot of times if I park my car under a tree, I'll come out to my windshield, to my car in the morning, and half of my windshield will be frozen and the other half won't be. It's happened many, many times, and I never really thought about it until a few years ago, and I put it all together. I'm like, wow. The reason it frosted over is because the full moon light hit that part of the windshield, and this part was underneath the tree in the shade. So
I could pop your bubble a little bit, but I'm not going to. I'm not going to. So when you go to social gatherings, parties, whatever, do you advertise? Or do you strike up a conversation where you start talking about the Earth being flat?
Absolutely. I've been talking about basically ever since I found out the Earth was flat, I was like, okay, I got to tell everybody.
What is the typical reaction?
Usually people it's very divisive right off the bat.
Sure.
It's people are either like, what? Tell me more, or and they walk away, like just laugh at me. Mm-hmm. And I don't mind. I'm not trying to convince anybody like of any one of my things that I believe or research. I'm not so much like, you got to believe like I believe. It's more like, hey, here's just a few hints, that maybe everything's not the way we've been taught. Maybe it's not the way you think, and I feel like if I can just get my brothers and sisters to open their eyes a little bit, start looking outside the box, we can move with more freedom and more power. A lot of times I feel like that's kind of what's been being repressed is our truth. The truth of us is our power. So if we believe a lot of false things, then we're going to be going down rabbit holes that, I think that's a big part of the problem right now in our society is just the simple fact that a lot of people are believing lies, just complete deception.
He's not lying about that. These days, people believe in all kinds of absurd to dangerous topics they hear and see on the internet, and especially through social media.
Here's another one, just kind of jump off on the moon and the sun, for example. From our perspective, the moon and the sun are the same size. From our perspective, but they tell us, science tries to tell us that we're going around the sun, and the moon's going around us. It looks like, and from our experience, it looks like the sun and the moon are different. They're the exact same size.
Okay, one last time. These are small, but the ones out there are far away.
They have power. We can feel their power. Like if you believe in astrology at all, like all of our ancestors have always believed it. They believe that the sun, the moon, and all the stars, each of the individual stars have their own power. They have their own potency that they're affecting us. So like if you're born on a particular day of the year, that's your sun sign, you're a Gemini. And then the exact day that you're born will know, okay, that's where the moon was in the sky. And then they can take a picture of the entire sky. They know exactly where all the planets were the moment you were born. And that's going to impact your entire life.
I mean, do you enjoy being this controversial person at a gathering where you're like proposing these theories that are...
I put it this way, brother. Before I learned that the Earth was flat, I was not a divisive person, and at least not in the sense of, I was questioning things, but I wasn't like, yeah, definitely at a party, like the example.
Are there other theories that are...
Since I found out the Earth was flat, then it unwrapped everything. I was like, oh my gosh, if that's true...
Of course, believe in the flat earth and all other things must not be what they tell us, right?
Was the moon landing a
complete farce? Yeah.
And 9/11?
Planned, totally purposefully planned. Absolutely.
What other theories do you hold to?
I believe that 500 years ago, we found the New World. I don't believe it was the New World. This is an old world. And it's easy to figure that out. Some of the hints are when any of the Europeans got here, in the first Europeans that got here, they weren't talking about savage tribes. They were talking about huge cities. Every river they went up from the bay, they'd go up different rivers, South America, Central America, North America, and the banks would be lined with people and big, giant, beautiful cities. I believe that when the Europeans got to what they call the New World, it was already populated. And the cities were there. Like, for example, we have the same architecture in New York as you do in London and everywhere around the world. The same thing happens in New Zealand, Australia. Same kind of architecture, same buildings, these massive, beautiful cathedrals. I do some construction, and the buildings that these people built are so amazing, so gorgeous. You know, it's the best. It's like when we go to Europe, there are castles and cathedrals, and these roofs are like, you know, huge, crazy pitches that would be hard for us in present day to put on, even with all of our equipment, with everything. And yet we say, oh, these people weren't as advanced as we were. I'm contrary to that. I feel like these people were definitely more advanced. Like, for example, 500 years ago, just in English, everything got changed. We got a new calendar. We got a new Bible, so religion. Time and religion, boom, changed. I think English was just coming out, like really getting popular because or at least that's the best English we have is Shakespeare. Still our best poet 500 years ago, really. And yet we're still being told that we've evolved or that we are evolving.
Obviously, architectural styles from place to place weren't similar during varying eras. No. 500 years ago, all cities everywhere in the Americas were grand and filled with many people, and men from Europe could never build such grand cathedrals and buildings. Oh, and of course, it's common knowledge that everyone spoke like Shakespeare wrote 500 years ago, too.
Believe that humans evolved from
apes and stuff like that? No, and I say that because
were humans just...
It's too beautiful. It's too perfect. It's too amazing. This world has to have been created. There's too many details that are perfectly in synchronization. It's perfect. You know, you take one little molecule out and it screws everything up. Everything dies. You add one thing, poison. You know, but the way it is, it's orderly, it's perfect, it's balanced. It always finds its own balance. It keeps coming back to itself. And yeah, to have something that perfect, I think it had to be created. I don't know who the creator was, who the God was. But it is very intelligently designed. And the smartest people that I know, like the scientists that are doing like physics and quantum physics, really questioning reality and really going down to things that they can't even talk about the stuff that they're doing in everyday life. Most people wouldn't even understand them. But they are all saying the same things. Like the more we learn, the more we realize this is like people are nowadays calling it a simulation, for example. Like this is too perfect. It's almost like it's a computer program or something. Wow. Yeah, so I believe that everything was taken away from us maybe 500 years ago. I'm just going to say some weird things. I feel like we might have had a more beautiful civilization. Like I'll say something really weird. It looks like the Jesus that we celebrate for modern day Christianity. It looks like that happened more like 1,000 years ago, 1,500 years ago, and then there was 1,000 years of peace. That's what it looks like. As far as like when I say looks like, is the history of our ancestors, not modern day history, but if we listen to what our ancestors talk about, that's what it says. And then you just look at the architecture. Like I was mentioning that a minute ago, there's these beautiful cathedrals and roofs that are steeped and just the design of the concrete. It looks like the same people built the same things all around the world. And in Europe, that was built 1,000 years ago. But in the New World, that was built 100 years ago. What about New Zealand? Yeah, 100 years ago. Oh, so all of Mexico's aqueducts, for example. Mexico has more aqueducts than Rome. You know, nothing even competed with Rome until Mexico. Well, then who did Mexico? Was it the missionaries or the conquistadors? You know, like who did it? And when I say an aqueduct, it means like you're taking water from one place, moving it 100 or 300 miles away, and you're crossing over rivers and valleys to get there. So it's a huge, huge undertaking. But that's what you see in Mexico. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that's put it this way, let me say it like, go back to the 1,000-year thing. In the Bible, it was predicted that there was 1,000 years of peace. And then Christ would let Satan back out of out of the jail or whatever you put him in. And that's what it looks like happened. It looks like there was 1,000 years of peace all around the world now. And I'm not saying like one culture, one language necessarily, but definitely the same architecture everywhere. The same beliefs too, even though there's different languages, all of our ancestors say the same kinds of things. When I say ancestors, I'm talking about like the Mayans and Inca and, Japan, China, Russia, basically anywhere around the world you go to, and they're going to tell you the same basic stories. There was a flood, there was a creation, there was gods coming down, the people coming down, helping people, other humans, and advancing, like some demigods maybe, or gods. But they taught them language, math, jewelry making, how to work metal, etc. That's what they all say. And then there's also a flood. They all say that, And yet nowadays scientists, that didn't happen. That didn't happen. But it's only been in the last 100 years that they're even teaching people that the world is a globe. It was a hypothesis, a theory 500 years ago. But even 100 years ago, nobody thought the world was a globe and we're not spinning.
Did IQs just drop sharply while I was away?
So my takeaway from that little bit is people from 500, 1,000, even 1,500 years ago were too primitive to learn how to do anything. It had to be an advanced civilization or possibly aliens or who knows, according to him.
We're told that it's been around for 500 years and everybody knows that. Flat Earth. Really? Well, then why does the military, and even during World War II, I don't know if they have to nowadays, there's no such thing as like if you have a globe and I want to go from one place to another on the globe, why would I use flat plane trigonometry to get there? Unless we're on a flat plane. On a globe, navigation doesn't work. On a flat plane of existence, everything makes sense. Basically, all of our mysteries, all of the things that what's up with that? It all makes sense on a flat plane. The moon, I like to do the moon because even modern day scientists have no understanding, like the moon does not fit in with anything else that they've talked about. These planets this, and the sun's this, and Earth's this, and blah, blah, blah. It's weird. The moon has these weird things about it. I mean, there's like literally like 100 things about the moon that literally don't fit.
Is the moon flat as well?
Well, here's some more things about the moon. From our perspective, some of the things that we notice about the moon is that there are craters on the moon. Like when the moon, let's say it's full, okay? We're looking at the moon, it's full, middle of the night, we're looking up. All the craters on the moon are perfect circles. So there's not asteroids hitting at an angle, it looks more like lightning bolts maybe. And we see the same thing on our Earth, on our flat plane, that anytime we see craters, we're told, an asteroid hit that. Oh, really? Why are they predominantly all over Death Valley, for example? In California, we have asteroid impact zones everywhere. Nevada, Utah, like the places that we are now deserts. But then if you look at it really close, and I'm talking like look at it from Google Earth, you'll see foundation marks, like old buildings. They're all rectangles and squares and stuff. In other words, it looks more like the city was destroyed with direct energy, some kind of energy weapons. All of those craters were circles. There's never a rock in any of these craters. It's not like an asteroid. And if we are a ball spinning, these asteroids would be hitting us at an angle, and they'd be carving furrows through the ground. That doesn't happen. All we have is perfect circles with no rocks in them. So I'm proposing that, again, we're not a flat plane. There's some things, and it looks like a direct energy of some kind. I have a lot of questions. Definitely don't have all the answers. I'm not even trying to have all the answers, but I'm trying to raise up more questions.
Well, I'm convinced.
I have omitted the part where Apolos talks about his childhood. He had some horrific things happen to him and has used it to help others, and in doing so has helped himself. If you want to see it, I have linked the original video with the timestamp in the description below.
Yeah, okay. It was Yeah, it's interesting. When you start thinking about my childhood, I'm like, that threw me for a loop. Go back to flat Earth.
No, I mean, childhood is a big impact on who we become as adults, isn't it?
Yeah.
Was there ever any kind of misrepresentation of the truth in your childhood, or your dad was straightforward and communicated clearly with you?
Yeah.
Or were there things that just weren't said, or things that you had to figure out on your own?
Exactly. I think there was a lot of things that just weren't said that I had to figure out. I started thinking that, like my parents, for example, here's a good example. My parents, my grandparents, my pastor, everybody would say, don't lie, don't lie, don't lie. It's horrible, don't lie. And yet I would find everybody lying.
Right.
Like all the adults around me, I'm like,
that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like you guys are full of shit. Like, and you all say that you're not full of shit.
So it makes you question the truth.
100%. So I'm questioning truth. I'm everything that, by the time I get a little older, by the time I'm 15, 16, I'm starting to think that everybody lies. No one's telling the truth. And the only way to work through this maze of existence is to get better at lying, be good at it. Because everybody else seems to be really good at it and pretend like they're not lying.
And now as an adult, you become a conspiracy theorist.
I guess. Yeah, I guess so. That is interesting, huh?
So when he was growing up, his family and others around him lied. About what, he never tells us. Therefore, everything anyone has ever said and is now saying is a lie. And that threw him into believing in conspiracies, including the flat earth. Yet, the conspiracies he believes in, as shown by other people, is somehow not a lie. The logic this man has is mind-boggling.
For sure. It made me the way I am, for sure. It really, and yeah, that's true. It's a really good point.
When you're at a gathering, group of people, whatever party, and this comes out, what's your, I understand what the other people's reaction is. You get a lot of eye rolls and things like that. What is your reaction to all that?
Well, I don't really mind it at all, because I don't feel like it's my opinion. I literally feel like
it's the truth.
The earth is freaking flat, you guys, and there's no doubt about it, like zero doubt. A lot of people come to me, well, you can't really know. And I'm like, actually, I can know. In other words, I've studied this enough. And the truth is blatant. Like the actuality of things are blatant.
You're 100% convinced.
It requires a lot of faith to believe that the earth is a globe. Like a lot of faith. Most people don't think of that because the scientists told them, and we're not faith-based. This is actual and rational.
I just wonder if in fact the earth was flat, you might be somebody who was trying to convince everyone that it's round.
Not necessarily.
Well, you just
put it this way though. Again, I'm not gonna. Well, I would never feel comfortable. I'm not just pushing buttons to push buttons. Although sometimes I do that, so I guess that is part of me for sure.
That's what
I'm
right. Getting at. Yeah.
But no, I don't like to do things. I wouldn't say anything, especially to groups or like on camera, unless I felt like I'm speaking the truth. In other words, I'm not just sitting there just bullshitting to fire people up in any way. Mm-hmm.
No, he is just parroting what he's researched in heavy quotes and heard from others in videos and on social media.
For example, scientifically, there's a lot of things in science that people think, oh, if a scientist told me, it must be true. Well, almost everything that they teach you are theories. Okay, like literally, there's hardly any actual laws, scientific laws. And when they say it's a law, that means it's like 99.9%, it's at least 99% sure. In other words, every time in the laboratory, when we test this, it looks like this. This always happens. For example, in the laboratory, water always finds its own level. What's what water does. Almost everything in science, there's like 100 laws. Like there's really not that many actual scientific laws, but almost all of them are about water and around water, the actual laws, because we can test it, prove it, shown every time. So a few of them, for example, it always freezes at 32 degrees. In this atmosphere, that's when it freezes. Not 30, not 33. 33, it won't even start icing up. 32, boom, it starts icing up. 211 degrees, nothing. As soon as it hits 212, boom, it starts boiling. These are laws, okay? You can know this, depend on it, trust it. Well, another one is water always seeks its own level. It seeks the path of least resistance. So that's why we have rivers. That's why the rivers always come down to sea level. That's why we have a horizon. So if I'm standing on the beach, I can look out at the horizon. And horizon, by the way, is short for horizontal line. Okay, it's not just some made up word. It's horizon.
Did you hear him play this semantics game? level, sea level. Horizon and horizontal, like all words, are made-up words. Horizon, a noun. Please pardon the pronunciations of the following words. Late 14th century, horizon from Old Latin horizon, 14th century modern French horizon. Earlier, horizonte, 13th century, from Latin horizontum, nominative horizon. From Greek horizon, kyklos, bounding circle. From horizane, bound, limit, divide, separate. From horos, boundary, landmark, marking stones. The H was restored in English 17th century in imitation of Latin. Old English used, I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and pronounce that word, eye mark, for limit of view horizon. The apparent horizon is distinguished from the celestial or astronomical horizon. Horizontal, an adjective. 1550s, relating to or near the horizon, from French horizontal, from Latin horizontum, see horizon, meaning flat in quotes, i.e. parallel to the horizon, is from 1630s.
Went from the beach. You can actually get a level and test my theory. You'll never, ever, ever, ever see a curve on the horizon. Ever. I don't care, even if you go high. Here's two things that happen when you go high, by the way. Let me start off. I'm at the beach. I look across at the horizon. And when I'm in Hawaii, I do this all the time to people, but you can see an island right over there, okay? It's 20 miles away. They tell us 17 to 20 miles away, like whether you're on the Big Island, you're looking at Maui, or you're on Kauai, looking at Niihau. They're about 17 to 20 miles apart distance. And when you're on the beach, you can see the other island, the entire island. You know, and maybe you can't see the beach because there's some waves and there's a little distance and maybe obscure. But if I climb this tree 10 feet up, I can see the other island 20 miles away, the beach and everything, the whole thing. And if I climb that mountain right behind me, say it's 300 feet, 400, 500 feet up, not only can I see that whole island, I can see the other side of the island, and I can see another 20 miles, like that same distance of ocean between me and the island right now. When I get that high, I can see that same distance on the other side of the island. So I'm looking way past, and the horizon, this is the other key point. So the main key point is water's always level and the horizon always meets your eye. Like if I could say nothing else about flat Earth, those are my two main points.
Nope on both key points. Though you can use water to show something is level as having no part higher than another, water actually follows the path of least resistance. And the horizon does not rise to meet our eyes. Our eyes actually go down to focus on the horizon.
If water is always, always level and it's a law, then at what point does anybody start thinking that it's curving? You know, if we're on a ball, then science would tell you how big the ball is because they know how big we are. They're going to tell you exactly what the curvature rate is. And then right there, you know they're lying.
But why do you think so many people have it wrong?
My only answer to that is that it's a purposeful deception.
What is the goal of it?
The goal is to keep us entrapped, to keep us enslaved, to keep in the slavery of our mind. That's really what it's all about.
I am going to end it here for now. There is another 25 minutes of this interview, so part 2, same globe time, same globe channel, next week. Remember to do all the YouTube-y things like, share, comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell and click all to get notified when I upload new content. Thank you for watching. You are all awesome. See you in the next video.